Hey everybody, it is Kim Crumpus from the Price Action Traders Institute, and it is Tuesday, August 13th. I told everyone today out on Twitter that I was going to try to record a quick video. It may not be as quick because I want to go through all of the trades, all of my thinking, and how this unreal, unbelievably big, large, moving New York session unfolded this morning for us, and how I traded it. So let's go ahead. Before I begin, let's just briefly talk about the risk disclosure. So everyone's results are going to be different. Trading is really a risky venture for everyone who trades, no matter your trading level. And we assume that you take full and complete responsibility for your own trading and your own results. Remember, there are never any guarantees or promises or assurances that you will achieve the same level of success as I do, or as Kevin does, or anyone else in the PADI membership. That is completely up to you to achieve your own success. So let's go ahead and now dive into the chart. So let's set up today. Today we had a red news event. We had US dollar CPI news that came out at 5:30 Pacific, 8:30 Eastern. When we have a red news event, we want to stand aside all USD backed pairs. And in other words, we want to be flat the market. And we want to wait till that red news comes out. We either trade it or we don't. And today, the market, there was a lot of ranges. We want to do our assessment, our plans right before the news comes out, and we want to be ready. So having done that, the euro this morning was in a range, and the news, this is the news candle right here. This news candle really did not change anything. And I took this short and jumped out at break even. Next up is the euro yen. Of course, we don't trade that on the news, but at 6:30, about 5 minutes into the New York Open, I noticed things were shifting across the board. And on this one, I put in a quick entry to buy the break of this range that the pair had been in. I think this was when we were doing the New York trade planning session. Again, it was 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern, and we had this in a range. We didn't want to take any trades. We were looking for either a buy to get long this pair, or if price came through the lows, we would sell it. And you can see price as I saw things start to shift. In fact, I put a tweet, look at what's happening across the board. And this one broke, but unfortunately it swung and hit my stop. So my first trade, number one, long at 23.9, was stopped out for 10 pips. My re-entry rules here at PADI tell me I have to enter at the next price level. So I had to wait to see if price would come up to the 50. I put an order to buy in case price flew through the 50. In fact, it did. It never looked back. And I ended up coming out of this trade for 50 pips. So net on the euro yen this morning was a plus 40. The pound dollar. Typically, I am not going to trade this one unless there's a clear directional move. There wasn't this morning. This pair was ranging and there was no trades. The pound yen. Also, being that the pound yen has the pound in it, I'm also not trading anything unless it's a clear directional move. Well, as luck would have it, I didn't buy this RBO because, again, I'm only going to trade clear directional moves. I'm not trading breaks. At this point, price had moved about, let's see, we can see from the breaking line if I measure up, price had moved 43 pips. We now had a clear directional move long. All the yen pairs were moving in the exact same direction, and I took this long at 85 using momentum. And I ended up coming out up here at 50 for 65 pips. The Australian dollar, I traded this USD CPI news. And again, this was ranging and I ended up coming out with plus 2 on this. And you can see the trade never went anywhere. It did break to the upside. I didn't even see this happen because I was completely focused on all the yens. AJ, also heads up, things are shifting across the board. Again, this is the 6:30 a.m. candle. This is 5 minutes into the New York Open. Price punches through, does an RBO, holds the line, closes outside, just what I want, drops about 7 pips, never hits my stop at 12 pips down. 4 pips back, and then just rips up. And I ended up coming out of this one for plus 83. What I didn't do back on the EJ or the GJ was look how much further price went. This one 73 pips above where I got out with plus 83. This trade would have been a 150 some pip trade if I could have stayed in. I put limits though to get myself out of these moves. Honestly, when I saw them, I almost was like a deer in the headlights. I couldn't believe they were happening and I was in them. The dollar yen, same thing. We're seeing this movement right here, 6:30 a.m. It's happening all across the board. I get ready. I put an order to buy this break. In fact, it buys, it hits my buy and never looks back. And I ended up coming out of this one for plus 62. Notice again how much further up this went. Another 78 pips. Monster move. Dollar CAD. I took two trades. One, I was in this long on the USD CPI news, and same time, 6:30 a.m., I notice everything's breaking. And I jump out with only plus 2. And the trade actually had gone up about 17 pips, and I came out with only plus 2. I was kind of a little bit startled. Then I put an order to sell, and I ended up coming out with plus 5 because by this time, it's now on the 645 candle. It's after all the other trades have closed out, and I'm just like, I'm done for the day. All right, so that was my last one. The CAD yen, again, I was short off a yellow line in here this morning before we even began the planning session and before we began the we began before the red news. Because this is a cross pair, I don't have to worry about USD. So I took a yellow line short. And again, as things were changing and they started to show quickly, and this also had around 16 pips in it, I came out with only plus 3. I quickly put an order to buy. Notice how much time I've got from here to actually get into this move. In fact, this was not quite a change of direction, but it almost was. All right, bought this, never looked back. The pair never looked back, and I came out up here for plus 77. Again, notice how much higher this went, another 54 pips high. And then lastly, the New Zealand dollar. I took one trade short on this pair on the USD CPI news and came out with plus 4 as things started to shift. So let's go ahead and do a quick summary of all of these trades so you can see what made up the 343 pips that I actually took. Okay, so let's quickly just review these trades. Remember, euro dollar, I sold on the news and jumped out at break even. EJ, I bought the RBO and ended up getting stopped out on my first trade for minus 10 and then getting back in using a re-entry technique and ended up booking plus 50 on the re-entry, netting plus 40. The pound dollar, no trades. The GJ, I traded momentum, remember, after it broke. And then the AU, a USD CPI news trade, punched out for plus 2. AJ was a beautiful RBO, long, got out of that, plus 83. Dollar yen, also beautiful RBO to the upside, got out of that for plus 62. The CAD, there were two trades on that. Remember, one was a CPI news trade for plus 2 that I punched out of after it ran up about 17 pips and everything shifted across the board. And then I sold the break as it fell through the bottom and ended up closing that for plus 5, giving me a total of plus 7. The CAD yen, there were two trades on that. Remember, I took a trade before the news and before the planning session, a yellow line trade, jumped out of that for plus 3. Price swung around with all the yens at the same time, took the RBO to the upside, to the long side, ended up coming out of that with plus 77, giving me a net of plus 80 on the CAD yen. And then lastly, the New Zealand dollar was a USD CPI news trade that once things started flipping across the board, I jumped out, closed that trade for plus 4. All of these trades, if you add them up, it gives you 343 pips. Again, this is not normal. We don't see this happen all the time. It was a wonderful day. And so if you're able to capitalize, if you know your trade plans, if you know the rules of the game, you are in a much better position and you're prepared mentally, meaning you're well rested, you're ready for the session when these things do happen, because they happen when we least expect them. I had no idea this was going to happen. and here it is. All right, so let me just close with this and say thank you again for listening to all of this. I hope it's helped you somehow, some way with your own trading. If you're a Patty member, hopefully this will become really clear to you on how all of this was set up, and we had plenty of time to get orders in. If you want to visit our website, please go to priceactiontradersinstitute.com. You can email me at info@priceactiontradersinstitute.com if you're new and you have any questions about what we do and how we do it. And you can also follow me on Twitter and Kevin on Twitter. I'm at Price Action Kim. Kevin's at UK to Asia. All right, that's it. Have a great evening. Thanks for listening, and I hope to hear from you soon.